Hey guys, this is going to be your Mythic Gallywix Phase 2 guide. Quick overview of the Mythic changes is basically what we've seen in Heroic with Intermission and P1 with Soaks, kind of combined with a lot of area denial. So there's no more tank bombs that need to be clicked. There's no more tank focused circles that need to be taken out. There's player targeted circles instead. There's a lot of lightning grids on the ground, which is new to Mythic. The Mayhem rockets, which is new to Mythic, which are basically two forms of area denial. And we're going to have very specific positional assignments here in this phase and for the remainder of the fight. So I'm going to kind of not go step by step of everything that happens in order on the fight, because it's more of a pattern that you just follow until the end of the fight, and the boss just eventually dies. So let's talk about the area denial stuff first. There's basically on the lines, on the circles there, I guess semicircles at this point, because half the room is covered, there's going to be a lot of lightning. And there's going to be gaps in that lightning for you to be able to get into different layers of this wedge, right? So you can kind of think of this as the melee wedge, the middle one as a ranged middle wedge, and then a far ranged wedge out here, right? Layer, I guess. And you can kind of move in between or across to dodge certain mechanics, like the Mayhem rockets. And so what the Mayhem rockets do is they target a specific like layer at a time. And so this is just showing that like these lightning gaps can change throughout the fight, so you just kind of have to understand the pattern. I believe it's the same every pull, so as long as you get comfortable with timing and position of where you're at in the fight, you can kind of min-max your positioning and stuff. So Mayhem rockets kind of look like this. They're going to target, like the very first one, for example, targets the middle ring first, so anyone in the middle ring needs to dodge either forward or back. I recommend you dodge forward on this set just because then the back layer gets targeted, and then anyone in the back row has to go in the middle. And I don't know why that one's there. That's not supposed to be there. All right. So that's the area denial, and that's going to happen for the rest of the fight, right? So like all this happens for the rest of the fight. So I'm not going to animate this anymore. Just assume this is happening while all of these other mechanics are happening as well. So, good stuff. So at the start of P2, we're going to go into the kind of intermission spin-a-roomny thing again. This time it is rotating clockwise, and there's only 3 beams. Range, you always want to be on, like if you're facing the center of the room, you want to be on the right side of that first beam. This is kind of exactly where the beams are going to start when they come out. So tanks and melee, you know where to go. And then at the same time, there's going to be ads that spawn. And the DPS check here is there's 2 sentry ads that spawn, one on the far layer and one on the middle layer there. And they have a kickable cast, but it can only be kicked once. Once you kick the cast once, it becomes uninterruptible. And it's basically kind of like the Scrap Master recycle cast, to where it's going to pretty much one-shot someone if that cast gets off. So we really want to like a Curse of Tongues this and milk that very first cast. Kick it at the last possible second. And then all range should be 100% focused on killing these 2 sentries in the back. It's going to be assigned kicks. As far as the big melee clump of technicians here, it's going to be the melee meat grinder. We're basically going to have an oppressive roar and then a CC rotation, an AoE CC rotation on the technicians. They're probably going to die in the first roar plus leg sweep. And that's kind of what we're going to do here. So melee, you're meat grinding those, while the ranger are killing the 2 sentries on the outside. Again, milking the cast, kicking it at the last moment, making sure they die so people don't get one shot. And you will be dodging melee. You're going to be dodging the beams as that's happening. Range, you know, there's not a whole lot going on. You're just killing stuff, and obviously dodging the stuff on the ground. Okay, So after the ads die and the spinning stops, we're going to go into the kind of like P1 heroic type stuff where there's going to be the soaks, the purple soaks, like the frontals. So tanks, what we're going to do is pull him out slightly here, kind of in the middle of that first layer. And the two tanks are going to be on either side here. And we're essentially going to have two groups, just like we do in all the other difficulties, except these groups are going to be of only 5 people each. So we have a group 1 and a group 2. Group 1 is always going to take the soak first. VIPs are never going to be assigned soaks because if a VIP dies, we die, right? So this is kind of what the frontals look like, right? And they're one at a time. I'm not animating one at a time here. We have the first frontal go out on group 1, and then we're going to have the second frontal go out on group 2. And then the third one again on group 1, and the fourth one on group 2. The third soak specifically, so the second soak for group 1, there's going to be a lot of overlaps during that one. It's going to be the soak frontal, obviously. There's going to be bombs on the ground and blaze lines going out. And we're just basically going to use a bunch of immunes and massive defenses and very tanky people in group 1 to be able to handle all those. And then this area in the middle is the VIP zone. So this is the area where our bomb carriers, our four bomb DPS players, well, I guess 3 ranged. So there's going to be 1 melee who's kind of hiding. All of the melee who aren't soaking can kind of be behind the boss here, up against the electrical area here to avoid these frontals as well. That's why we have the boss positioning like that. And then obviously, like I said, the VIPs, the range VIPs are kind of hanging out in here. They're not taking any soaks. They're in a very safe area because we don't want them to die. All right, let's talk about the bomb circles. So instead of tank circles, 5 players are going to be targeted by kind of a similarly sized tank circle. These actually don't hurt that bad unless you have like 2 overlapping ones or you're taking 2. They don't hurt that bad. So like any player that's not targeted by a circle that happens to accidentally eat or be inside one of these people's circles, like if you just have a minor defensive or something, you'll probably live. If you run into the like lightning lines, that hurts way more than just eating one of these bomb explosions. So just keep that in mind. This is like an example of positioning. Look, there's tons of free space here. You just need to spread out and try not to overlap each other. Try to keep the boss clear as well. There's no weak ores or assignments here. You have plenty of time to get out, plenty of time to react. Just need to get safe. And then let's talk about the suppression that happens. It's, again, the same that we've seen. You try to move as a team away from the boss and avoid swirlies on the ground. So suppression goes out. You know, the further away from the boss you are, the less damage you take. So, you know, and then as you're running out, certain players are going to be targeted by those circles under their feet. It's easiest as each kind of, I'm going to say team, because you're going to kind of develop your own partners or teams in certain areas. You develop your own way of handling this suppression. Most people will group up and run it out, or group up and run to the side. Melee, obviously, you're grouping up and then you have to run away from the boss because you want to take less damage here. And then there's a frontal also in this phase. We're not doing anything with these orbs unless we haven't fully charged the tank orb yet, because we still have a tank with the bomb that we need to dunk. But it should be fully charged from one of the frontals in P1. So yeah, they've been running around this whole time with the bomb, which is super cool. So we want to try to bait the frontal in a way to where it's not like covering up a whole layer, I guess, is the easiest way to explain it. And then these still leave orbs, and if you touch those orbs, you're going to get stunned and die. So please don't touch those. If you're in immune class, that can bubble, or you know, be immune to these. You can go gobble them up and make them go away, which is good. And then so again, I didn't animate the entire series of events of what's happening here, but we see the frontals, we see the suppression, we see the big circles that we have to take out, and we see the frontal, right? Those are all things that happen in this phase, with varying levels of overlaps. We just have to deal with them as they come through. That's really all you're doing. Once we see the fourth frontal soak, so this is the second group soak for group 2, he's going to start his Giga Coils cast, which is the thing that has to be interrupted by one of the consoles getting blown up. So he's going to do his cast, and once he finishes that cast, he starts channeling the Giga Coils, which does heavy raid damage. And so immediately when that's happening, this is around the 7-minute mark, the last tank with the bomb is going to run over and dunk. And in this case, again, there's no platform. And so here we have Dino on our team who's playing a Brewmaster who should be able to transcendence essentially before he jumps off, and then transcend back after the bomb dunk so he doesn't die. That's the goal here. What we can do if Dino's not here is have Zert actually take it, and we use like Solar's Rescue, for example, to have Zert jump off and then Solar rescues him back. And that will cover up the third quadrant. So now we only got one slice of the pie to deal with. And guess what? We do the whole thing again. It's literally the exact same thing that we had with 2 slices, but now we only have 1. All the same things. So all the same area denials. We get the Spinneroonie, we get the ads. Literally the same thing. So again, DPS check here. Range need to be on the sentries. Bait, milk the kick. Melee meat grinder on the technicians. All that. We literally do the same stuff, just with less room. And in the same order. It's the same thing. Again, group 1 goes first, then group 2, then group 1, then group 2. VIPs are in the middle. One note here, since there is a lot less room in this tiny little slice, the VIPs and like non-soaking melee, you're gonna end up going into, you're gonna have to move more. You can't just stand still. You're gonna have to move and pay attention and not be in the frontal. You're not supposed to soak. I mean, I shouldn't have to say that, but it's kind of common sense, right? So you have plenty of space. The big bomb examples, like you see, there's a lot of overlapping space here, but the boss is safe. There's safe space here, and none of these bombs are overlapping. You have plenty of time to get here, plenty of time to adjust. People can move around you. And that's the same thing with like blaze lines, right? You just need to move and you plant and let other people move around your blaze lines. And the boss eventually dies and we get cutting edge. That's it. Let's get it.